The film begins with Christian, a 42-year-old woman who is highly successful and famous as a talk show host. We see her in a hotel room, hurriedly getting dressed, while a man named Martin is behind her. Martin tells her quite literally, "What we have between us is a secret. No one knows anything about it." Any love story that begins with secrecy and concealment, Christian was drowning in that moment because she was escaping the boredom suffocating her life, especially after surviving the painful ordeal of a tumor. But Martin treated the whole thing like a game, nothing serious. After 5 years of this relationship, Christian decided to end it. And 5 years is far too long to dismiss as a youthful mistake. To heal her wounds and forget, she takes her husband George and their teenage daughter Sonia on a vacation to Italy, to a place called Ischia. But the truth is, this trip is not about relaxation at all, it is about hiding the cracks filling her life. On the way there, they suddenly run into Carlos, one of Christian's old friends. George casually tells his daughter that Carlos used to date her mother years ago, that he was handsome and charming, but in the end, George was the one who won her heart. The moment they enter the villa, each of them disappears into their own private silence. George slips away to call Margie and tells her he misses her, while Christian heads upstairs to her room. But she freezes in shock when she finds a strange young man sleeping in her bed as if the villa were a free hotel. The young man wakes up calmly and explains that he is not a thief, he just wanted a place to rest. His name is Thomas. Christian keeps calling for her husband, but Thomas starts pulling her in with his bold words. He tells her he had no idea this room belonged to a woman as beautiful as the moon, and that he did not come to steal from the house, he came to steal her heart. Christian secretly laughs to herself and says nothing. The next morning, the family goes out on a yacht. The luxurious lifestyle is fake, hiding mountains of boredom and worries underneath. Sonia, the teenage daughter, spots a boy her age on the beach and immediately decides she wants to go ashore and live her life. George, the traditional father, refuses, but Christian steps in and allows her daughter to break free of her chains, as though she sees her younger self in her. Later, Christian and George sit together eating in deadly silence. George worries about their daughter while Christian smiles with exhaustion and boredom. Sometimes the only thing holding couples like them together is empty conversations about their children. That night, Sonia returns with a boy she has only just met. George paces nervously around the house like any worried father, while Christian tries to calm him down, telling him that she herself used to be reckless at that age and only wanted to feel alive. In the quietness of the house, what usually happens between married couples happens between them too. Their conversation fades, and for a brief moment, a spark reminds them that they are still human. But the moment George falls asleep, Christian quietly slips out and wanders through the city alone at night. Music fills the streets, and she looks around as though trying to remember a language she once forgot. Suddenly, she spots Thomas laughing with girls his own age. He looks completely free, while she looks trapped inside the prison of her marriage. The following day, Christian is swimming alone while Thomas watches her from the shore. He approaches her and starts casting his net once again, offering to teach her how to skip stones across the water. He boldly takes her hand as well. Christian learns that Thomas is a university student who works to support himself and live freely. He begins flirting with her beauty while she teases him back, and the spark between them slowly starts to ignite. Back at the villa, Christian advises Sonia to enjoy her youth and truly live her life. But her daughter shocks her by saying she never wants to become like her, because she no longer loves her father. That night, everyone gathers at Carlos's restaurant. Thomas cannot take his eyes off Christian. Sonia runs off with her boyfriend on a motorcycle. Carlos asks George how his marriage is going, and George answers with shaky confidence that everything is fine, though doubt has already begun creeping into his heart. Christian goes into the bathroom, and Thomas confidently follows her inside, telling her clearly that he is not interested in her daughter, he wants her. He asks her to dance with him, and when she refuses, he suddenly kisses her. Christian freezes in place and feels a shiver run through her entire body. George tries to repair what has been broken and takes Christian on a nighttime drive, but her heart is somewhere else entirely. The next morning, the shock deepens when Christian sees Thomas hanging out with a group of young people and a girl beside him, and jealousy immediately begins eating away at her. But jealousy was not the only shock, because the past came knocking on her door again in the form of Martin, her former lover, who suddenly arrived with his wife, who turns out to be one of George's close friends. George invites them in, and they all sit together. On the way, Martin tries to kiss Christian, but by then she has grown tired of him, and of herself as well. That afternoon, Christian books a hotel room, orders champagne, and gets herself ready to meet Thomas like a teenager preparing for her first romantic date. Thomas arrives, and they begin an affair. When the waiter enters with their order, Christian casually tells him to come in without embarrassment. After crossing the line of no return, Christian makes it clear to Thomas that this is only pleasure, not love. Christian drinks heavily until she gets drunk and collapses in the city streets. Her daughter sees her in that condition and becomes certain that her mother is destroying herself. When Christian returns home, she finds Martin's wife waiting for her. The woman tells her that she knows about her relationship with her husband and that she was nothing more than entertainment to him. Christian asks her why she never ran away too, and the woman replies that she is afraid of losing the money he has. In the end, Christian apologizes to her daughter, but Sonia responds that she hates her childish behavior and her betrayal of her father. All she wants is for them to become a normal family again, nothing more. The following morning, Christian wears an old dress that reminds George of their happier days, as though she is trying to reclaim her lost innocence. George kisses her lovingly, which immediately ignites jealousy inside Martin. That night, the four of them get drunk, and Martin shamelessly tries to touch Christian, but she pushes him away and tells him that his wife knows everything and is only staying with him because of his money. Christian goes searching for Thomas and asks him to meet her at the hotel, but he coldly refuses and tells her that she should come to him instead. And eventually, they end up together on the beach among the sand and the salt air. Back at the house, George tries to get close to Christian, but she rejects him. He then opens up to his daughter Sonia, who shocks him by revealing that her mother has found a new love outside their marriage. George completely breaks down in tears. Carlos, with manipulative cynicism, advises George to cheat on his wife and enjoy himself because loyalty is an outdated idea. But George still believes in love. Suddenly, Thomas barges into the family house without shame. Christian is frightened at first, but Thomas overwhelms her with his words, and she collapses into his arms. They end up having an affair inside the family home itself. At the same time, Martin confesses to George that he cheated on his wife, but George coldly replies that although he wanted to leave Christian, he ended up falling in love with her all over again. The major confrontation happens when Christian brings Thomas to the table and seats him directly in front of George. At that moment, George's heart finally shatters. He stands up, gathers his things, and walks away. Even Martin is stunned by her shamelessness. Christian orders champagne and tells Thomas to pay for it, but when she realizes he has no money, she finally begins waking up to reality and understands that she has been chasing an illusion all along. Christian returns home, and a huge argument erupts. She tells George that Thomas gives her what George never could. George completely loses control, tears up her clothes, and throws her out of the house nearly naked. In the middle of the night, Sonia runs away with her boyfriend to the same hotel where her mother used to meet Thomas, and they enter the exact same room. Christian spends the night wandering with Thomas and the beach crowd until she finally feels hollow and empty inside. George remains awake until morning, drowning in pain. When Sonia comes back home, she harshly asks him why he threw her mother out and tells him that it will never make her love him again. George collapses emotionally, and his daughter sits beside him, singing softly to calm him down. And that is how the film ends. If you enjoyed the movie, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss any new content we upload.